Hey y'all, it's me, Love Ashley Lane, and welcome to Voices of the Body. So as you can tell, this episode is another one. Um, it's starting out different than how I normally start out. With purpose, of course. So I've done a lot of prayer and meditation around sharing both my miscarriage story and my experience with domestic violence. And just really wanted to make sure I was coming from a place of teaching, because I never, like, as much hurt as I endured, it's not in me. It's never, I've never been that type of person to where, like, it's a telenovela where I'm like sitting here just pouring out the whole story and bashing people. I still wish people well. I still want to see people win, no matter how much hurt has been involved. And this isn't about one particular person or one particular thing that has happened. This is my overall story when it comes to abuse and domestic violence, right? Because I think the only way we see a domestic violent relationship is through physical abuse, because that's the most evident, right? That's where you can physically see the scars on somebody. You can physically see what is going on behind closed doors. And I think for me, just in, this deep healing journey that I've been on, and partially didn't even know that I was saying yes to 11 years ago when I moved back up north from Florida. I learned so much about what domestic violence really is and what abuse in relationships really is. And for a long time, I just couldn't, like, I'm an open book. Like, if you guys know me, I don't hold anything back, because I believe that God has made me a certain way for a reason, to lament, to share my story with millions of people, in so many different forms, so many creative forms that will allow them to also heal, and to also look at them, and to also look at their situation and really say, is this what I deserve? Is this a final space for me? Is there more for me? Right? I have no shame in sharing my wrongs. I have no shame in sharing my rights. I have no shame in sharing anything that has taken place in my life. Because I believe that's what I'm here for. I'm a creative. I am a healer. I am a teacher. I am a mentor. I am a coach. I am a partner. This is me. And God is with me, because the sun is shining so bright in my eyes right now. And whew, so I was actually very, very nervous about doing this episode, because for many reasons. One, I'm still in the thick of healing from domestic violent relationship, and I like the grief comes in waves. Everything comes in waves. So as of right now, today, I am well. I probably will cry, but if you know me, that is to be expected. I am a lamenter. Crying is my strength, and it's my release. I also was like I said earlier, afraid, like not afraid, but just really wanted to be cautious. Because again, I'm not a person that bashes people. But this is my story. This is my truth. And I have a right to not gaslight myself in thinking that, what my reality was anything different than what it actually was, and currently is. So yeah. So without detail, if you listen to the episode about my miscarriage, you may remember me saying that my miscarriage story was attached to another story with my partner, which is this story. So there were a lot of different things that were taking place that, I just kind of like prayed through and maybe didn't even really realize was actually happening in real time until there were like couple slaps in my face, and somewhere in me I was just like, oh well, that will pass, like it's not gonna be forever. And we ended up getting married, and I've been in love with this person since high school, so there's such a space in my heart that they still hold regardless of the hurt. And the way everything went, my only intention was to ensure that this person wins at life and finds the healing that they need once I realized that this wasn't where I needed to be anymore. So prior to me having my miscarriage, my spouse and I got into a physical altercation. And it was a week before I even realized that I was pregnant. I don't know if one had anything to do with the other. I'm not going to make that speculation or judgment or connection, because that's added grief that I don't want to add without actual concrete, clear connection. And I don't want that sitting on the other person's conscience or shoulders or any of that. So, I'm not like, speculate what you want, but I'm not putting that speculation out there. This is just how the story went. And I think the hardest part was listening to my intuition, where I said I deserve to be safe in my own home. I deserve to be spoken to with love. I deserve to have, like, I teach my kids. So I work with 0 to 5, the 0 to 5 population. And when I have kids that, are hitting a lot because they don't have the language to really say what they're feeling, I always say with them, and I used to do this with my son, our hands are for high-fiving, our hands are for hugging, our hands are for helping. Our hands are not for hitting or harming. And as much as I preach that to my children, like my babies that I work with, I have to preach that to myself, no matter how much I love somebody. Because love doesn't harm you. Love doesn't make you second guess what you deserve. Love confirms what you deserve. Love tells you, yes, I see you and you deserve more than what I see. You deserve the overflow of what I see. You deserve what you give out to be matched. And I like the hardest decision was to get this person out of out of my house so that I could feel safe, because I didn't like it. What led me to actually like calling my family finally for some help was, and you'll hear her interview next. So after the altercation, this person then like put a gun to their head and threatened to kill themselves right in front of me, and told me if I killed myself right now, you wouldn't even care. And I didn't know like what to do, how to maneuver, what that like, do I reach for the gun and take it away from them? Like, what do I do? And what brought me to the point the next morning to where it was like, I can't risk being in this space, was a lady that I had met about 7 years ago, and you'll hear her interview in part 2 this week also. Her story never left my head. Her story never left my head. Her husband shot her 9 times, and not thinking that it would go that extreme, right? Yet there was a space where like I said to myself, if I excuse this behavior now, then I'm giving permission for it to continue and for it to get worse. And I think that was the first time ever I've had clarity about just what I didn't want, right? Because I want to live, and I deserve to live. And that was the moment. That was a very hard space. I wish the police could get on here and tell you how much I cried, how much I wanted to just keep to myself, how much I just I didn't want things to go the way that they needed to go when I look back at, just the process of everything. So a lot of this month, I with all the interviews that I've had with, or that I have and that I'm still doing, that you guys will hear, with the people that I'm interviewing, the amazing women that I'm interviewing, I asked them, what has this experience taught you about you? And I'm going to answer that question for myself. And that question is the basis for this whole entire episode, right? Again, I'm not spending this whole entire episode talking about what happened, because I think that's a moot point at this point. And I want to be gentle because of the love I still have for this other person. I want them to also do their healing work. I want them to also be able to move forward and get the healing that they need, so that I can continue to do the healing that I need for myself. So talking about it in a way that is not going to bring light to what I believe every woman should pay attention to within their body, right? Is, where does fear show up for you in your body, right? What does it feel like, right? Like, to really pay attention to your nervous system. Your nervous system is your best friend. And sometimes trauma, not sometimes, but when trauma, big T's, right? Or even little T's, right? It's all in that individual's experience and definition of how big or how small an event is for them, right? And how it shakes their world, how it shakes up their body, how it misaligns their mind, body, and spirit connection. But what, like, trauma has a way of reprogramming everything within you, right? Like, if you think about your cell phone, if you drop it enough, right, it's gonna be all battered and bruised and beat up and chipped and everything on the outside. And then, how well is it gonna work internally, right? It might take longer for you to open up apps. It might take longer for you to focus your camera. It might take longer for you to scroll on the screen because the screen is broken, right? It's the same thing with our bodies. It's the same thing with our souls. It's the same thing with our mind, our speech, our everything. All right. So it's imperative that, if it's imperative that you listen to your intuition, that you listen to your body, because your body is telling you, okay, this is not how we're supposed to operate. This is not how we're supposed to move. So going back to that question, what has this experience taught me about me? This experience, for one, has taught me and shown me that a lot of the relationships I've been in the past were also abusive. And they weren't, there was one other one that was physically abusive, and very controlling. And like, this person, I broke up with this person and they just weren't having it. And they went through my phone and saw me like texting, another guy, somebody I used to date, and they choked me. And I thought that was going to be it for me. Like, they choked me in my grandmother's house. I literally thought that, that day, I thought my life was over. I thought that was it. Like, I could not breathe and fought so hard to get this person off of me. And he's a big guy. Like, I don't for some reason date these little scrawny ass dudes. Like, I date, like, I'm 5'10" and change. Like, I need comfort, right? But like, and that story, I could, like, my family doesn't even know about this. Like, I told my grandmother's my best friend, so 90% of what I share with y'all, she already knows. But I thought that was it. This was 2009. This was 2009 holiday season, because I remember I was still working at Victoria's Secret. Yeah, and so, but even that, like, I knew that was not okay. I didn't want to be with somebody that was okay with hurting me. So I cut that relationship, right? But even like, there's a lot of past relationships where I can look at this one that I'm walking out of, that I've walked out of. Let me speak prophetically, and can look at where, what has happened before, right? Like, the only way you learn, the only things that you need from your past is the lessons that you've learned. And sometimes your present will help you go backwards and look at those lessons, right? So there was a lot of financial abuse, right? And I've noticed a pattern that's always what kind of goes first, because I'm such a giver, right? Like, I'm such a giver. I will give you everything that I have, right? And I mean, well, now, like, you can't get nothing out of me now. Like, if I share an apple with you, be happy, but it's like, I'm such a giver, and I never get back what I give in return. a lot of the relationships I've been in, there's two that I messed up and I can speak for those, right? And they gave to me, but I was like, one of them, we were on the same wavelength. It was long distance and it just wasn't working anymore. Because I was in college and they weren't, and they always say you don't take sand to the beach, so that was my fault, right? There was a lot of sand at the beach I was at, so yeah. And then another one, like, he gave and gave and gave, and again, I was in college, I didn't really have anything to give. But the one thing I could have gave, I mishandled, and I messed that up. So, but like, I'm a giver. I'm a giver, and there's been relationships where I thought that, if I just kept giving and giving and giving, this person would see me. This person would appreciate me. This person would love me the way I need to be loved. And you can't make anybody love you. You can't make anybody see you if they don't really see you. And I don't want to be seen for what I look like physically, right? I want my soul to be seen and nurtured, protected, and tended to. Like, I need my emotions to be seen, protected, and tended to. Not used as a gateway for you to take advantage of me. What this experience has also taught me is that my intuition, what I feel within my body, what my soul tells me, my discernment is real. And that I have to stop second guessing myself. I have to believe that what I feel is true, what I feel is real, regardless of what is being shown in front of me, right? Until it aligns. I have to trust my intuition, and I for a long time didn't know that I had intuition, right? Eventually I started realizing that there was like this thing in my stomach that was always talking to me, and I just never listened to it. I thought like it was just my stomach hurting, or I was never aware of my body. I was just never aware of, the way my soul talks to me. I was just here, y'all. I was just here letting any and everybody just take advantage of me, tell me what to do, how I'm supposed to live, how I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to look like, all the things. And my intuition is my gift. My intuition, your intuition, our intuition is a gift. Our intuition is our protection. Our intuition is what we deserve. That is your higher self talking to you. That is your present self protecting you. That is God connecting with you and speaking with you. It's all like that's what that is. And to ignore it is to ignore protection, to ignore what your body is feeling, is to ignore signs and signals, those red flags, right? Those things that come up and say, this is not safe, this is not good for you, this is not where you need to be. So this experience allowed me. And even I've mentioned that October 1st is a very big day for me, because this October of this year made 11 years that I've been stable, and moved back up north, and just allowed God to really use me, right? Like giving a yes without even knowing. I always say that I had my Jonah season. I came up here and then left and went back to Florida. I was like, I don't want to be up here. I gotta go back to Florida knowing when none popping, ain't shit popping in Florida for me, right? Like I went back to Florida and ended up homeless. I went back to Florida and ended up having like a horrible time. And even in that space, it was like, well, God, if this is what you have for me, right? Like I was abusing myself by not allowing myself to experience what I needed to experience to heal, not even knowing that there was like I needed to heal. I just knew that whatever in my childhood that was still resonating in the air in New Jersey, I didn't want to go back to that. Like, y'all should have just left me with my grandmother in the first place. Like, I didn't want to go back to that because I knew that there were things that were going to come up, right? When you go to certain places, when you see certain faces, when you drive past certain places you used to live, you used to go to dance, where I went to dance school, like all these different things. So it's like, I got uncomfortable. Like this space up here, I got uncomfortable, and I was like, no, I'm going back to Florida. And the person I left to go back to Florida with, that left me homeless. That was a horrible year. It felt like forever. I like abused myself by allowing myself to continue to go through things that I didn't even really need to go through. In hindsight, I learned a lot about myself. But 11 years ago, the relationship I left to come up here, I'm now discovering that was an abusive relationship. This person, that person, like, and my number is 3. Like, it just so happens to be my number, and I've been in 3 abusive relationships. So the one that I left moving back up north from Florida, 11 years ago, it wasn't physical. And that's where the catch is, like, because I only thought that abuse was physical. This person like made me throw out all of my things, all of my belongings, all of my journals where I did a lot of my deep writing. They made me they would take my phone from me, and I got it back, and like all my contacts were deleted. All of my, like, everything that had writing, names, phone numbers, anything in my phone, emails, anything that was in my phone, they deleted. And I couldn't understand why. I was just like, why would you delete my stuff? Like, I need these things. And they were like, no, you don't. It's old stuff. You're with me now. And I just, like, I couldn't understand it. I was just like, but what if I need to call, like, my best friend? What if I need to call my mom? What if I need to call? And it was like, well, you could just use my phone. And I was just like, okay. Like, I was taking the bus to get to work, and this person, I didn't mind being, they walked me to the bus stop, but it also, like, sometimes they would ride the bus with me to get to work. And I was working at a pink store, Victoria's Secret pink store at Florida Mall. And I was just like, well, why are you riding the bus with me? Like, there was like gestures that were sweet and nice. And the things that I adore from a man, that gentleman thing, right? Like, oh, let me walk you to the bus stop, or let me walk you to your car, let me see you out, like those things. Yet that was a disguise for the control and the abuse. And like, now hindsight looking back, it was just like, oh, like, you were watching me, like you were making sure that, like, I don't believe that you were making sure I got to work okay. Like, you were making sure that I wasn't doing anything crazy, which I had no reason to. They withheld, like, at the time I was on food stamps, they withheld like my food stamp card, my bank account cards, like all the things, everything that was mine. I just like I can now look back and say that that was an abusive relationship. Like I didn't have language for it then. I didn't have language for it then. But I knew that there was just something there that I didn't need to be in anymore. And I had finally made the decision to leave. I went to my mother's house for like, I wasn't even there a full 24 hours, y'all. Like, that's another podcast episode. But I wasn't even there a full 24 hours, and I asked my brother to take me back. And my brother took me back to this person's house. Yeah, and it was like, I was like, well, I don't want to be here anymore either. Like, I don't want to be at either one of these places. And that was when I decided to reach out to my aunt, and from his phone, of course. And yeah, because the only number that I remember is my grandmother's house number. Like, her house number has been the same since I was a baby. Like, if her number ever changes, I'm going to be screwed. Like, her phone number is the only number that I remember, like, to this day, and it's been the same for my whole 35 years of life. Like, I hope she never changes that number. So, I was able to call her, and she gave me my aunt's number, and my aunt brought me a train ticket that was leaving Florida on September 30th, 2010, or 2011. Yeah, this was 2011. The first incident where my significant other, my ex-significant other, choked me was 2009. Holiday season 2009, and I left and went back to Florida April 2010. Then this happened, this relationship, before I left to come back to New Jersey, was in 2010. Yeah, told y'all that was a long, like, I felt like that was a lifetime within itself. Yeah, so September 30th, 2010, got on or 2011, 2011. 2011. My days, like, my memory is, I remember, and then I don't, like, my memory is shot, like, really bad. Everything felt so long and so drawn out. So, like, 6 months felt like 2 years, to be honest. Like, my concept of time is horrible, when I think about some of this. But yeah, the train pulled into the Trenton train station in New Jersey on October 1st. And whatever I had left of me was in suitcases, and I went back to my grandmother's house and was there with her for 10 years. About 9 years, actually. So yeah, I am doing the work to love myself and to give myself what it is that I keep giving away so freely. I am thankful for my aunt for believing in me, and like she said to me, I said to her, it's like, once I start working, I will pay you back for the train ticket. And she was like, all I want you to do is just be great. So I am forever grateful for her, and for her and my uncle for who they've just been in my life, up to this point. And my grandmother is my best friend. Like, I'm grateful for her, because a lot of what I've experienced so far, like, I can talk to her about without judgment, and she can give me her experience, and she's just my rock. And even now, going through, the healing space of the miscarriage and the connection that has to, this current situation that I'm walking out of. It's been a lot. In the midst of that, my son going to live with his dad. So grief is a very real thing in all of these spaces. Yes, I have a living child. I also continue to say that I have a child in heaven, a baby girl in heaven. And as much as I do not approve of physical abuse, whether there's blood being shed or not, I know I deserve someone who wants to use their hands to hold me and to hug me and to heal me and to caress me and to anoint me and cover me and protect me. And no matter what their demons are, I still love this person with all of my heart. And I want to see him win regardless of where things are. Like, I still want to see him win. So, yeah, I want you all special, like, and men go through abuse also. I'm not discrediting them. I'm just speaking from my experience and what I know as a woman, where we can continue to pour. But whoever is in an abusive relationship, whether it's financial abuse, spiritual abuse, and that's a thing, because I've had the Bible used against me and telling me that as a wife I'm supposed to do X, Y, and Z. And even though there's harm being done to me, and being gaslit about what my true experience is, your intuition is a gift, and I give you permission to tap into it and to use it and to honor it. It's there for you for a reason. It's connected to your body in this container. It is connected to your nervous system. Please listen to your body. The first episode of this podcast was the first episode of this podcast was called "Your Body is Listen. Your Body is Talking. Are you listening?" And I think that just set the tone for just what every single episode that I produce will be, especially in this space, in this space of talking about domestic violence. Like, your body is telling you it's not comfortable here anymore. Even if you're unaware, this one day your body is going to shift and an awakening is going to happen. And your body is going to be like, we have to go. We can't do this. This is not okay. This is not what we deserve. And you have to believe that you deserve better. You have to believe that you deserve better. I don't care what other relationships go through. I don't care what the media says is supposed to be okay. Like, Fabulous and his wife, she stuck it out with him. Like, I'm thankful that he got therapy and he sees change. That was her choice. That was her decision to keep enduring, and they have a lot of kids together. Not every story is going to end that way. Not every story is going to end that way. You'll hear from a beautiful, amazing woman in the part 2 of the Body and Domestic Violence, Danielle Burgess, where she shares her story. Her story went a certain way, but it didn't end for her. It revitalized her, but she walked away. So, I want this to be a space where we learn, and the seed is really planted on listening to your body and listening to the truth of what is being seen, and felt, because that's not going to lie, right? But we also have to remember, even in the grieving space, right, of losing a partner, even though they're still living, I have to grieve that we were building a family. I have to grieve that there were still good times. I have to grieve that that the person I've loved since high school and didn't even expose that until now is not the person for me in this season. Like, I have to grieve that I have to grieve all of those things. I have to grieve that we created a child together and that child is not here. I have to grieve all of that. I have to grieve that, there's a space still in my home that misses him. There's a space still in my heart that misses him. And like, two things can exist at once. I can love you and know that I don't feel safe with you. And that's okay. Like, it's okay for you to love somebody and also know that you're not safe with them, right? You have to understand that both things do exist. There is such thing as duality, right? There's that yin and that yang. There's a day and there's night. Like, there's a season for everything, right? So allow yourself to grieve that as well. We'll also have a therapist on, a grief therapist, at the end of this month, talk about grief, and that grieving is vital when you've experienced pregnancy loss, when you've experienced infant loss, and when you've experienced any type of domestic abuse. It's a very real thing. So yeah, I'm not going to sit on here much longer. But I love you all for free. I love you all for free. And there are resources on my page. Go to ashleyelaine.me. The coming years, because this podcast will be around and I will be doing this forever, I will continue to find resources every month, because these two causes are very important to me, and they touch a certain part of me. So I will continue to expand on all of this. So yeah, there's resources on my page, on the podcast page of my website. Tap into your local community. Do some safety planning, right? Let somebody know that you trust what's going on, what you're feeling, all of those things. It's not you telling your business, it's you listening to your intuition and listening to your body and saying, hey, I think I need to talk to somebody about this because I waited till the last minute. Thank God I did it when I did, because I don't want to fathom what things could have been. And I am grateful for my intuition and trusting it that much more. So yeah, I love you all for free. Take a big breath in and release. One more big breath in and release. And last one, big breath in and release. Yeah. Trust your intuition. I love you all for free. Namaste.
Soundstripe. Soundstripe.